In this tutorial I'm going to cover doing selections in the software Gimp. I've set up my Gimp so that I can zoom in and out using my wheel mouse. Yours won't do that, you'll have to use plus and minus on the keyboard, but if you want to do that, the options are in preferences, so edit preferences, go to input controllers, wheel mouse, scroll up, find zoom in, which is under view, go to view, zoom in, okay that, and then scroll down, do the same thing but with zoom out, and close OK, and that will let you do this. Your tools for your options for your tools are down the bottom. There's more than you can see in this video because I've chosen to cut it off at a certain point, but there are more. Feather selection makes the edges of your selection a bit smooth. I'm going to switch it off, but you might want that on. And there's various ones depending on, like if you want rounded edges with the rectangular Marquee tool, you want that selected. The most important ones are these ones here that you'll probably use, although you might use feather selection. The first one is new selection, replace current selection. So every time I select, it forgets the previous selection and creates a new one. If I put it on add selection, add to selection, I can keep adding to the selection. One of the annoying things about the way Gimp does this is if I want to add from here, I can't. It'll assume I want to move that selection, which is kind of annoying. There might be, I don't know what the reason why they did that, but if you want to get around it, all you have to do is just click off and then add and then click off and then add. Obviously if you do it from a different point it doesn't matter so much. The next one is subtract from selection, so if I click on that it will take away from the selection. And the last one is intersect with current selection, so if I click on that and highlight, it will just highlight the chunk that is covering in both areas. So that's the rectangular marquee tool. The elliptical one does the same thing except with circles, and you'll notice that as I change to different tools it has different settings, which can be good, but it can be a little bit annoying as well. Like you change the setting and you forget that you're in plus or negative, but you just need to be aware of it. So this one works the same, you can, but just with circles, so you can still click on add and add to a section. And it's handier than you'd think it would be. So whenever there's a curved surface, so for example this tomato, I can quite quickly highlight the tomato and grab it. So as useless as a circular marquee selection tool sounds, if you get good at using it, you can select things quite quickly. So you can see I've done a pretty good job of selecting that tomato, and it didn't take me long, and it's quite accurate. Like whenever there's nice curved surfaces, the elliptical tool can be handy. The next one is the Lasso Tool. That lets you draw what you want to select. You'll notice that if I join it up to the very beginning, like that little dot appears, and that will select it. If I don't, if I stop before the end, I need to double click and it will finish the selection for me. You can use the same tool to do straight lines. You just need to click rather than drag, and it will do straight lines, and then it will work the same way if I match it up. It will join together. The next one is the fuzzy selection tool. It's basically the magic wand if you're in Photoshop. Just get rid of that selection. It chooses color ranges. This threshold down here is how fussy it is. So the bigger the number, the less fussy it's going to be about picking color. So if it's 250, does it go up to 256? Well, if it goes up to 256, it'll pretty much grab everything on the screen. If you put it down to 1, it'll only pick colors that match exactly. And you can sort of keep clicking until you grab whatever it is you're trying to grab. The next tool works in a very similar way, except it picks colors regardless of whether they connect to each other. So this one, like the red of the tomato has to connect together. So if I had another tomato over here, this tool would only select that one, the one tomato. But with this one, it'll select both of them. It'll select any red or whatever color you click on the page. So it can be what you want, or might not be what you want, depending on what you're doing. Just keep clicking until I get it. It's not as good as the tools. These ones aren't as accurate as the ones in Photoshop, but they're still not bad. You can see it's done a reasonable job. The next tool is they call it the scissors select tool, but it's basically the magnetic lasso tool equivalent in Photoshop. And I quite like this one in Gimp. I think it might even be better than the Photoshop version. Basically, click where you want the line to be, and you can see it figures. The more definite the line is in between two contrasting colors, the better it'll be at figuring out that line. And the good thing about this one is it's sort of like if it messes up, you can just add another one. I can add another point, and you can drag it out a little bit. It's a lot more manageable. Like it's the magnetic lasso tool in Photoshop. I won't bother going around the top bit. Oh, maybe I will. The magnetic lasso tool in Photoshop is kind of, you can get rid of points, but you can't sort of move them around easily. Or I just find this one, as tools go, this one is actually quite good. So the more obvious the contour, the contrast is between the edge of the line, the better a job it's going to do. Whenever you're doing selections, I tend not to try and make things perfect. I do it as best I can, but I'll tend to use several different tools to select something. So different tools are good at different things. So rather than trying to kill yourself making something work, like a tool do something it's not actually good at doing, I would change tools. See how I've just added a selection there to get rid of that bit. When you've got all the way around, just double click. See how that symbol changes like that when I'm in the middle. If you're in the middle of this section, you double click. It turns it into a selection, and you can see it's done a pretty good job, but there's bits that I've messed up. So I would tend to maybe use the lasso tool in this case and play around, like zoom in, put on add, just quickly click, 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 and add the bits I've missed. There we go, and I can put on negative. You can also, without clicking on this, I can press Alt on my keyboard to change between add and subtract. Or can I? Anyway, I forgot to put on negative. There we go. And I'll shape this section off as well. I won't get it perfect, I'll just get it close. That'll do for now. If I want to have this in its own selection, I can go to Edit, Copy, Edit, and Paste into. Sorry, no, that's not what I did. Paste as new image is what I want, and I'll get a new image with this transparent background, which can be handy. You can see I've messed up bits of it, but you can always delete those later. This tool, the foreground selection tool, I won't show you how to use it because it's really not very good. They've got an equivalent of it in Photoshop, and the newest versions of Photoshop tend to do a good job, but the older ones were a bit rubbish. Well, this is in Gimp, it's still at the rubbish stage. With this, if I want to save this as a format that I can actually use in a program like Word or in a web program where I've got a nice transparent background, I need to go to Save, Export. And then under all images, I can change this to, you won't see the list, but I'm going to look for PNG. I could save it as a TIFF as well, but I'm going to save it as a PNG. Give it a name. I'm just going to whack it onto the desktop. Tomato. And export. And you'll have a nice image that you can put into your Word document or whatever program you're using, and it'll have a nice transparent background. And that's all I want to cover today in this tutorial.